134 hours and 2 damn months and some change. That's what it took me to finish Persona 5 Royal. And guess what? I freaking loved it. Keep in mind, I've got about 20 to 30 hours less than I should have, because I don't know that I had to max out too confident. There will be spoilers all over the video, so either leave now or strap up and enjoy the ride. This game may be long, and that's an understatement, but damn is it absolutely amazing. Everything from the combat system, the storytelling, the beautiful soundtrack, the social aspects, and the vast array of characters / confidence make this a truly unforgettable experience. Now, before even playing the game, from what I had heard and seen, I already knew it would be one of those games that I would like. It's just a matter of how much would I like it. And judging by the intro of this video, that would be a lot. Let's talk about the gameplay. While turn-based combat can feel boring and repetitive, it never really felt like that was the case with this game. Persona 5 Royal has great features such as the one more system, which rewards you for playing intelligently by allowing you to get another attack on an enemy if you manage to target a weakness of theirs. The baton pass mechanic is also another nice touch, as it allows you to tag in another teammate, similar to WWE, and provide them with enough extra damage to do so. You can also increase their HP and SP if you played enough darts with them, and no, I'm not kidding y'all. Technical damage boosts work similarly. For instance, if an enemy is shocked, you can hit them with a physical attack and do extra damage and chain. Or if they're on fire, you can give them a good old fanning.
Let me talk to you!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the beauty that are showtimes. These are beautiful mini scenes of combat that you unlock by playing through the game naturally. And man, oh man, this came at a point when I thought to myself, there's no way these guys can top themselves or do any better. And out of nowhere, like an RKO, Atlas did it, dude. I love these as they're clutch in a battle and beautiful to look at and showcase the bond and personalities of the Phantom Thieves. For instance, the first one you get is a cross between Morgana and An. It starts off with Morgana being a lover boy with flowers and that, and then proceeds to get beautifully violent, a crazy oxymoron, I know, and ends off with a bombs and guns galore combo. My favorite one easily has to be the Haru and Makoto combo, because apart from them being top tier girls, their showtime has wrestling in it. For those that don't know, I've been a big wrestling fan since about 2008, mainly WWE, and still am one now. So when I saw this, I think my jaw dropped and hit the ground like a Looney Tunes character. Honestly, I could count on one hand the amount of times I skipped the showtimes, even though I knew it was going to be the exact same thing to a degree. There was so much charm in there that I couldn't help but smile and watch it all the way through as if something different was going to happen 100 hours into the game. The grappling hook was a cool touch which incentivized exploring the palaces and, more importantly, finding the will seeds. I gotta shout out one of my boys, Kaan. For context, he's a massive fiend for Persona. Within the last year, during our first year of uni together, he played pretty much every version of the 5th game, I believe, is doing another run as we speak, has played Persona 3 Reload and its DLC, and some of Metaphor ReFantazio. And while Metaphor is different in a sense to the other Persona games, it comes from the same studio and has similar enough traits, so I'll be counting it here. I'm being ignorant here, but it's for my point, y'all. The reason why I had to shout out my boy is that he put me on game. When it came to maximizing my time with Persona, tips like checking the bathroom at Shujin High School to suss out which social stats are close to increasing and more. His advice definitely made the game a lot smoother for me, and had it not been for him, I definitely would have left the will seeds. Alright, that's enough glazing him. Let's move on to the style of Persona 5 Royal. Dog! When I tell you that this game has got drip like you would never ever believe. One, they made Joker feel cool and human at the right times, and on top of that, they made the menu and loading screens feel cool. How do you even possibly do that? When it comes to style in a video game, from now on, Persona 5 Royal is definitely going to come in first place for me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to one of my favorite bits about the game, and that is this S-tier soundtrack. Like, I've heard video games with good soundtracks such as Hades, Breath of the Wild, all the Danganronpa games, Cuphead, and any of the Pokemon games. But hot damn, when I tell y'all that this is easily the best soundtrack I've heard so far, I mean that with my whole chest. So with that being said, this next section will be an album/soundtrack review, mainly of the vocal tracks. Fair warning to y'all, there will be some cringe singing, you have been warned. Let's kick this thing off with the opening song to the game, Colors Flying High. Oh my goodness, y'all. Talk about one hell of an entrance. This song has a special place in my heart. One, because it came first. Plus, it also had the advantage of the introductory animation before you actually play the game. The beauty is like Dopamine City, and that's a thing you'll notice being a common trait with every other song I mention here today. Another thing I just realized about the song while inspecting the lyrics is that the words change during the chorus and pre-chorus slightly enough, which I really love. It gives you a sense of familiarity with lyrics such as, with your colors flying high, and similar enough lyrics, but at the same time, it almost changes the words enough to a point where they may as well be their own separate verse. And guess what? I'm here for it either way, baby. But more importantly, above all, that damn instrumental is freaking amazing. It gives me the feeling as if I'm in an anime every time I hear it. Maybe that's part of another reason as to why I love this song so much. Next up, we've got the amazing battle theme, and that is none other than the title, Last Surprise. I don't know what source the composer Shoji Meguro and the vocalist Lin Inazumi had when making Colors Flying High, but rest assured, it didn't just stop there. I bet y'all could imagine my surprise when I'm in Kamoshida's palace, learning my way around there, only to be greeted by this smooth, groovy banger. I love jazz music, whether it's in my hip-hop, as a backdrop to my studying with instrumentals, or this. There's not a time when I've heard this song and it's ever gotten old. And with the 100+ hours I have in this game, that's a damn lot. I like how the verses are more subdued and laid back, giving it this chill vibe. Then the pre-choruses build upon it even more, and then Lin and Shoji come out swinging. I also just realized how cocky the song can sound with lyrics such as, you'll never see it coming, you'll see that my mind is too fast for eyes, and are you sure your next move's the right one for you? Then again, if I looked like Joker and had endless personas on deck, I would also probably be this cocky. I know I've been glazing quite a bit, y'all, and all I want to say is, that ain't stopping anytime soon, boy. Moving forward, we probably got one of my favorite songs in this entire soundtrack, and that is none other than Rivers in the Desert. Far out, this song is so badass. I love the little sound effects in the beginning that carry all the way through the song. The chorus is sex to my eardrums, and man, I don't regret saying that. This song plays through boss fights and is the most empowering thing to listen to as you're whooping some candy ass. I really only started to notice it in the boss fights with Shido and Yaldabaoth, but that doesn't take away from how incredible this song is. Seriously, I implore those of you who haven't heard this tune to give it a go, because oh my days, it is worth a listen. Next up, we'll talk about the banger that is Life Will Change. This keeps up the same energetic tone that Rivers in the Desert has, and man oh man, do I freaking love it. Everything from the guitars, the energy levels, and Lin's beautiful yet powerful voice. I also love the song Takeover, as its lyrics directly mention things in games such as referring to the calling cards and confronting enemies head-on with lyrics such as, we're rolling deep in your underground grave, though we sent a prior notice calling for you. There's more like this, and I love it. You can listen to this as a casual and enjoy this tune for what it is, and then gain a second layer of enjoyment as a fan of the game after spending some time in the world. If you want a song to give you that same anime intro feeling that I had with Colors Flying High, then I reckon that I Believe will be the record for you. Dude, that violin playing in the beginning is phenomenal, easily a standout on the entire soundtrack. And the fact that it continues on throughout the song makes me happy, more than words could describe at least. Go and listen to it, and if you've already listened to it, go and listen to it again, because it's just that good. Dude, even the cover of the game adds to the feel of these songs, as you can see all these characters that you spend time with. It aids in the sense of unity and togetherness as you venture out in your journey of rebellion. Now, we'll be moving forward into what I like to call the DLC part of the game. Remember how earlier on in the video I made a remark saying that there's an extra 20 to 30 hours worth of content I missed? Well, that was because I didn't get Maruki and Akechi to the ranks that I needed them to be at. This will all make sense in a minute, I promise. Well, apparently to the Persona community, I needed to get the school's counselor, Maruki, to level 9 on the Confidant rank. I'll explain that later, in order to get to the third semester in the game. So I pretty much ended up playing the vanilla version instead, because I didn't want to do background research on the game before playing it. Understand me? Apparently, it would have also been in my best interest to get Akechi to around rank 8 as well, just to add some extra scenes and dialogue with him. I was talking about this with my mate Kaan and told him that I can't be asked to go back that many hours and redo that part. Because in my initial playthrough, I was at rank 7 with Maruki and had Akechi somewhere around rank 3 to 4, because I didn't care for him that much, in comparison to some of the other confidants. Now back to the DLC portion of the game that I was talking about earlier. There are 3 songs I'll be talking about now, which are exclusive to Royal, particularly the third semester and the Maruki boss fight. I just hope the added context will help make sense of what I'm about to say. The first of these songs we'll be talking about is The Treasure Ally. This beautiful piece of art is 7 minutes and 15 seconds long, but it is worth every bit of time poured into it. Now, as much as I love the catchy headbangers I've mentioned so far, Lin has managed to show her range to me with this slower song, and oh my days, is it freaking golden. It has a softer tone to it in both voice and instrumental, yet as it approaches the chorus, it crescendos into something so beautiful that I can barely put it into words. As far as I understand, you would have only heard this in the third semester of Persona 5 Royal, so I can only imagine how beautiful it was for you to have heard this in-game. I envy you lucky bastards! From what I can tell on Genius, these lyrics seem to be centered around the relationship and bond shared between Akechi and Joker. This song is actually so beautiful. Upon another listen of this, I would dare to put this next to Rivers in the Desert, and y'all know how much I love that tune. Hoshi Tobokura takes on a similar laid-back approach to the last tune. However, with the addition of the guitars, it gives me more of a headbanging feeling that is honestly a strong contender in terms of top 3 vocal songs in the entire soundtrack, and that's saying something, considering they're all great. Lastly, we'll talk about the beauty that is Throw Away Your Mask. I don't know how they did it, but these guys had no misses on the soundtrack. Far out, this song is amazing. The instrumentation is great, and the lyrics tie in beautifully with the game and its narrative surrounding the student's former counselor, Maruki. What I really love is the fact that the lyrics here are written from his perspective. For example, you can throw away your mask, no more pretending, and you won't need to strive for greatness. Believe in me that you don't need to suffer from anything. For those that don't know, unlike the other villains in this game where they have these evil, distorted desires, Maruki is quite different, in the sense that his desire is to have people live in a world where their dreams can come true, albeit a false reality, in order to relieve them of their suffering. For any Naruto fans, think of it as Obito/Madara's Tsuki no Mi, but this time with the actual goal to help people instead of it being for selfish gain. If anything, Maruki serves more of an antagonist whose valid ideals just end up clashing with those of the Phantom Thieves, instead of it being this cartoonishly thing. I'm looking at you, Kamoshida! Before I continue, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I watched a few YouTube videos for things that I missed, and one of the ones which came in clutch big time was the YouTuber Manga Kamen's video on Maruki. In about 38 minutes, he gave me the sparks notes I needed in order to write this part of the video, because I damn sure ain't replaying the game just for another 20 to 30 hours. So whether or not you see this, I want to say thank you, dude. Moving out of the album review section, let's talk about a core part of this game, and that is its beautiful characters. While the story is engaging and all, I think that we can all agree that a core part of what made this game as wildly successful as it is now is its characters. The fact that Atlas can cook this hard and give us this many characters to fall in love with is insane. There's a lot of characters, so I'll treat it like the music review and I'll only pick the ones I feel like are worth talking about. And since I have the wiki open in front of me, I'll be going in alphabetical order. Just to add on, I'll be excluding palace rulers. I'll make sure that they have their own section in this video. Let's kick this thing off with talking about a bit of a firecracker, and that is none other than Nan. She's a beautiful blonde with a bit of a short temper, only to be outdone by Ryuji. However, she's shown to have an immensely caring side to her. We meet her in the first few hours of the game, and the first thing I thought was, damn, she's hot. Then, after getting to know her story, with her being viewed as an outcast, and then what happened with her and Shiho during Kamoshida's arc was truly heartbreaking. I feel like Ann might be overlooked, as she is one of the first main characters and girls you get to know, but once you get to spend time with her, you realize that she's a pretty great friend, which is a common trait you're going to find throughout the section. Also, her metaverse outfit suits her pretty well, along with her codename being Panther. I mean, I would have preferred Catwoman, but I'm not one to argue. My favorite moment with her has to be during the cutscene after you beat Kamoshida. Keep in mind, her best friend Shio got touched in ways more than one by the sick freak, all because Ann didn't want to be with him, and was a big reason as to why she took the leap of faith off the top of the school building. So you can only imagine my surprise when she holds herself back and shows some restraint when she could have easily incinerated Kamoshida for good. But then she comes to the realization that he wouldn't be able to own up and confess his crimes in relation to the school. Like, she didn't have to do that, but the fact that she did shows me that she's a great character in my books. I think I forgot to mention that certain characters' metaverse outfits are their representations of what they think a rebel's supposed to look like, which I find to be a really cool concept, which provides you with this wide range of beautiful visuals. This next one is technically gonna be a 3-in-1, but allow me some grace here. We've got Caroline, Justine, and Lavenza. I'll talk about the twins first. They're the twin wardens of the Velvet Room, where you fuse personas however you like, summon them, or strengthen. Similar to Ann, you meet them really early in the game. If I remember correctly, they are among the first characters you meet alongside Igor. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. Despite being twins, they have contrasting personalities, and I love it. Caroline is the hard ass of the two, always being on your case and whatnot. And Justine is the softer one. Despite me saying that, there's times where their dialogue and demeanor will change to the other. For instance, with regards to your rehabilitation, which they're in charge of alongside Igor, if you do a good job, at times Caroline will seem more cheerful and compliment you before she swiftly reprimands you. While Justine may be softer with you generally, there's times where she may end up more standoffish and aggressive if the dialogue you pick is something that causes her to get riled up. Alongside with progressing their confidant ranks, they'll start to take in more of an interest to you and start to question their purpose and existence, which all comes full circle at the end with Igor, which I'll get to later, and which has been fusing them together in order to get back to their true form, which is Lavenza. I love how this all comes full circle and you can see her keep certain traits of the twins, such as the black and blue outfit design. However, in Lavenza's case, she ditched the shorts, tie, and long sleeve button-ups for a dress with some leggings and some ballet-ass shoes. Jokes aside, she's beautiful and is an amazing part of the last third of the game. Well, the vanilla version at least. Her, alongside the twins, are all solid characters. Next up, we got everyone's favorite tarot card girl, Chihaya. Now, while I don't care, nor do I believe in tarot card readings whatsoever, that didn't once stop me when it came to interacting with Chihaya. She's so damn adorable and her mannerisms only being topped by Haru, and despite her scamming us in the beginning, I love seeing her turn around. You meet her primarily in Shinjuku, where she does her readings, and each time you talk to her, you get to understand more about her background and why she thinks the way she does. And then in turn, we also get to change her outlook on life in relation to destiny and fate, so that she comes to viewing them as things that can be changed through a strong enough will, as opposed to being fixed forever. I'm sad that I didn't get to max out her Confidant. If I remember correctly, I got her to around rank 9, but never got past that. That being said, I don't regret my time with her, and if I ever get the time in the future for a new Game Plus playthrough, then I'll make sure to max her out the next time around. Moving on, we've got Akechi. Also, when I said in alphabetical order, I meant from what the Megami Tensei wiki has in order, so blame that. Back to Akechi. I've got so many things and thoughts to say. This guy's story / character progression reminds me a lot of Kate's from Final Fantasy VII. I initially liked both, but when I found out they were traitors, boy, oh boy, never have I ever screamed so hard and loud on my TV as if the bastards could actually hear me. Now, while they both had their turnaround with their eventual self-sacrifice, I definitely had a more violent reaction to the way Akechi went out. You meet him partway through the game, as he's regarded as this ace detective and a celebrity by the media and general public. He even catches on to the identity and the methods of the Phantom Thieves and joins them / us in the Sixth Palace being Cyanigemas. Things go well for the most part. However, the crew comes to realize that he's a traitor which ties back to that opening scene of Joker escaping Nijima's casino, only to be caught, thus resulting in the way the game started. And getting to see that exact scene again, but this time around having more context and understanding of what is actually going on, with about 60 to 80 hours worth of game time, it really all comes full circle, revealing some of the darker truths which came to light around this time. Just as a reminder, on top of being the traitor, he's the son of one of the biggest bosses in the game, Shido, and is a direct cause for most of the atrocities that have taken place in the game, such as mental shutdowns and psychotic breakdowns. Pair this with the fact that this dude has 2 personas and different outfits for each. It's pretty mad. He's the only other character in this game, besides Joker, who's able to wield more than one persona, which is extremely rare. So I bet you could have imagined my surprise when I saw his second form. Fighting against his prince form is pretty easy. However, it's his black mask form which you have to worry about. Using his powers, which he caused to have the mental shutdowns and the like to happen, he causes other enemies and even himself to go berserk. That coupled with new moves he got such as Heat Riser make for deadly combos which either result in a one-hit KO or a damn near one-hit KO. Truly terrifying stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. The saddest thing about this is that it was all an attempt to achieve his goal of being noticed and cared about. Keep in mind, despite Shido being the good-for-nothing man that he mentioned his mother getting with, he ultimately left them both, and I'm pretty sure his mother ended up dying when he was younger too, truly giving him that feeling of being alone. Even his second persona was awakened out of his extreme misery and hatred. The nail in the coffin that got me emotionally with him was during his boss fight. He utters a quote and it's quite beautiful. It goes, "You don't allow yourself to be enslaved by such things as human relations or past selves, and so your heart is free." The exact opposite of mine. To be honest, I'm envious. I wonder why we couldn't have met a few years earlier. Fah! When I tell you that hit me like a dagger to the heart, bruv, it was brutal to listen to. Because despite him committing the biggest atrocities in the story, it definitely humanized him. If anything, it almost made me feel guilty for not ranking up his confidant more. Truly a great character. Next up, we have another great character, and this one being the lovely and sweet Haru. She's easily the gentlest character in the entire story next to Shio. Everything from the way that she speaks, carries herself, and dresses had me captivated. Looks aside, I hate to sound like a party pooper, but I didn't care too much for her metaverse design. Like, it's alright, but I definitely think there's better in-game. I had a conversation with my mate Kaan, who I mentioned earlier in this video, about the game and Haru once I completed it. One thing I definitely agreed with him on is the fact that we feel that there wasn't enough time to get to know her and rank her up, unless you use a bloody guide. But where's the fun in that? However, having her dad be one of the palace rulers was definitely a nice move in terms of keeping me engaged. Even though I didn't get to rank up her confidant that high, I loved getting to see the progression of her dealing with the mess her dad left her with, and how she has to run the family business with no experience and get used to the leeches around her. Don't get me wrong, Guardian was nice with her, but this is what got my attention for sure. Moving on, we've got the enigma that is Hifumi. She was known as Shogi champion, and in-game you're encouraged to meet her through your party members like Morgana and Ryuji. During one of the night cycles, I chose to visit her at the church, and man, I fell in love with her. I loved how she got all soft and tender talking about her love for chess. Yet, when she was teaching us, it felt like a switch flipped and she started to open a can of whoop-ups on us. Also, getting to see her on the Hawaii beach vacation was definitely a treat for me, as we got to see her out of her element and in a new environment. Let's move forward to another older lady, and that is none other than Oya. She's a news journalist and starts off a bit weak as a confidant. However, once you get to unravel her history in relation to her past work colleague, that's when the real meat and potatoes of her character arc begin to flourish. This adds a nice dichotomy to the otherwise cheery and often drunk Oya that we see at the Crossroads bar in Shinjuku with Lala. While not one of my all-time faves, she's definitely a solid character. So, I didn't know this until making this video, but apparently Igor is a recurring figure in every Persona game. Don't worry y'all, I haven't spoiled myself. I'll make sure to enjoy the other games in full, either at the end of this year, when this YouTube channel becomes my full-time job, or when I retire. Jokes aside, Igor is a pretty cool figure. He guides us in our journey of rehabilitation and has a super dope voice. Well, That is until that the illusion is completely shattered in the last quarter of the game, when we realize that the eagle we've been talking to all this time was a fake and is actually the final boss, well, at least in the vanilla version. It's hard to rank him since his character doesn't work the same as the others, in which you're bound to spend a lot more time with him. That being said, he definitely has great vibes. Also didn't notice this until a few hours of playthrough, but after scrolling the internet, primarily Reddit, I found out that Jose is a royal exclusive character, similar to Yoshizawa and Maruki. That being said, he's an adorable little boy we meet in Mementos, a place where we essentially do side quests. Very interesting one, some even relating to the main story. Remember the will seeds I was talking about earlier? Well, if you collect all 3 in a palace, then they will materialize into a ring of a 7 deadly sin. For instance, Kamoshida's one is the Ring of Lust. When you bring it to Jose after you finish the palace, he'll mention it to you and ask to look at it. After fiddling with it, he turns it into the Crystal of Lust. He essentially upgrades the item for you, providing you with a dope new and fleshed out skill. For example, the Crystal of Lust allows you to use the healing skill Dire to whoever it's equipped to. Jose will forever be dope in my book for that. I also gotta thank Kaan, because if he didn't tell me to go out of my way to get the will seeds, I wouldn't have known about this until it was too late. I don't know too much about Sumeri apart from a relation to his sister, which is Kazumi, but man, it was sad to find out that Kazumi died and it was referenced by Sojiro at the beginning of the game. So out of ignorance and love, and not a combination, I'll be talking about the Kazumi I knew in my playthrough. She was beautiful, absolutely cheerful, and a complete joy to be around. Though we help her quite a few times, she doesn't feel like a damsel in distress trope. This is because she was determined to be strong enough to be seen as our equal and to be as great at gymnastics. I guarantee you that she would have been a lot higher. Well, technically Sumeri, had I known about the 3rd semester a lot earlier. No regrets though. Next up, we've got my bae, Makoto. Now, despite me romancing Tei Takemi in my playthrough, don't get it twisted. Makoto is easily the best female student. Got me feeling like Johnny Bravo. Homina, homina, homina. That's so stupid. Jokes aside, she is beautiful, and that's just the cherry on the top. Y'all gotta understand, I hated this chick's guts in the first few hours. She was always on her case and being nosy by following us. Literally. However, by the time the Kaneshiro arc got to its ending, I realized that I started to like her a lot. Everything from her base character design with her short, cool hair, boots, to her queen outfit. Queen is such a fitting name for her. She has these massive spiked knuckles, a black/grey and blue outfit, and this cool grey mask. On top of that, her persona is a freaking motorcycle. Are you kidding me? If that's not badass, then I don't know what is. I loved how she gained her own sense of worth and learned to question what she grew up with in terms of ideals. Also, when you rake up her confidant, it shows what type of person she is, particularly in relation to the friend she makes. I believe her name was Aiko. She wants nothing but the best for her, and will even say and do things in order to make that happen. Also, getting to see her get scared and shriek when we visited Futaba in the dark was honestly one of the funniest scenes in the entire game. Because despite her being one of the tougher and smart characters in the entire cast, it also humanizes her in a way which makes her more accessible and lovable without downplaying her. Makoto is the definition of an S-class character for sure. Moving forward, we got a bit of a conflicting character, and that is none other than Morgana. I say conflicting because despite his cheerful demeanor, he has quite a couple of smart remarks to make throughout the course of the story, primarily to Ryuji. He's pretty much the first Phantom Thieves member you meet, and is with you for the long haul. He seems to be quite witty in relation to palaces and the metaverse. For crying out loud, he carries you through a good chunk of Kamoshida's palace. The other thing that intrigued me about Morgana was his identity crisis. For context, he's a cat and spends the entire game assuring himself and the others that he has to be human. Cough cough, he wasn't. Despite that, it was interesting getting to see his journey play out. He may have pissed me off at times, but he's still a solid character at the end of the day. Next in line, we've got my day one dog, Ryuji. Ryuji is honestly such a bro, and I love it. He starts off as that brash, quick to act type of guy, similar to Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! However, as you start to peel back the layers on him, you realize that he went through a lot. For instance, it's just him and his mum at home. On top of that, he joined the track team in order to help her as well, by hoping to gain a scholarship, which was shut down by Kamoshida, which we'll get to him later, I promise. We also get to see him make amends with his old track buddies through constant disputes and discussions. And he's even a good reason as to why they got the club back and running again. Oh, dude, when the story made it seem like he died after Shido's palace by helping the crew escape, I almost lost my damn mind. I was in denial like a mofo. Easily the most rewarding scene for me was when he got around to giving you a massive thanks for being his best friend and helping him find courage and meaning in his life, and what he was doing with the Phantom Thieves when you max out his Confidant. I almost cried out of sheer joy. That's how much I love this guy. Easily another S-tier character for me. Moving forward, we've got Kawakami. She's your homeroom teacher, and throughout the course of the game, you find out she's a maid, and her main name is Becky, for those that haven't played the game. She starts off a bit standoffish since she initially sided with Kamoshida, but as you get to know her, you start to appreciate her even more. I loved how her being a maid was a way for her to pay back her debts to that one student she used to teach that died through their parents. She also starts to soften up on you in some of her responses by telling you to eat and sleep properly and to stop wasting your money on her. I got Kawakami to around rank 8 or 9, but I really loved her story and journey. She's definitely a good character to me. Next up, we got Lil Bro, Shinya. I like the way he was weaved into the storyline by being the key part in helping us beat the cheetah in Mementos. Shinya is known as one of the best players in the arcade game Gunnabout, and all we ever see him talk about is winning and beating his opponents. We soon discover that this mentality comes from his mother, who filled his brain with this ideology as she's passed on her traumas onto her son in the form of them. This causes her son to be bullied by the kids at his school due to how crazy his mum could get. Despite him loving her, even he could tell that his mum was losing the plot more often than not. I believe I got his Confidant to around rank 8, but even then, I had no regrets whatsoever. Moving forward, we got one of my goats, Sojiro. This dude is an amazing character. As we're introduced to him fairly on, we get to see how he treats us as just this foster kid in the beginning to someone who's a part of the family. He's the manager of the chill and vibey LeBlanc, which is a cafe in Yongenjaya. Also, getting to understand his relationship with Futaba and getting to see him go from being her caretaker to more of an actual father figure was a beautiful thing to see. I'm also heavily biased to liking him since he teaches us how to make coffee, and I love my freaking coffee. Next up, we've got my wife, the woman I romanced, Tei Takemi. She gets the full name because she's special. I'm telling y'all, when I first saw her, I said, damn, she's hot. And that's when I knew that I had to get to know her. I love her choker, her heels, her dress, and her voice and demeanor. She gives off this very cool, mysterious, and sexy atmosphere whenever she's around, and I love it. She's also got one of my favorite Confidant stories next to Makoto. Comparatively, we spend less time with Tei, but each time I was with her, those moments hit that mark. She was referred to as the plague by those in her industry, as she was framed for something she didn't do. Long story short, her old boss did an operation on a patient and used the medicine she was researching for them. Now, you may be asking me, well, what's the problem with that? And that's a valid question to ask. The problem with that is that the medicine her boss used was not finished and deemed safe to use, and she made sure to let him know that. Against all her wishes, he used it and got the patient killed. In order to keep his job, he pawned Tei off as the sacrificial lamb and said it was all her fault. I know, it's such a douchebag move, isn't it? So getting to see her move past her trauma and leave it all behind was beautiful. Funny thing, when I romanced her, I did it wrong initially and chose one wrong answer, keeping our relationship platonic. Never have I ever yelled as many profanities at my TV screen in my life up until that point. Luckily, I remembered that I had a save file not too far off from that moment. So I did what any wise man would do. I booted up that file, used the guide, and made things right with my wife. I wouldn't change anything. However, if I did a New Game Plus playthrough, I would definitely romance Makoto the next time around. We're almost at the end of the section, folks. Give it up for my OG supporter, Mishima. He was the founder of the Phantom Aficionado website and did a great job in keeping our image tight and providing us with new targets in Mementos. Lastly, for this section, we've got my guy, Yusuke. He was a key part of the second palace with his relation to Madarame and had an interesting turnaround similar to Makoto. Because I initially disliked him too, as he was a bit pervy and too intense for me. But the longer you play, you realize there's more to him, and that he's just the guy who really loves his art. I can't say too much for him, just because I didn't rank up his Confidant too much, but I reckon I would have liked it for sure. Now, let's talk about the Confidant System. By using this, you get to be able to become deeper with your comrades and other characters, which in turn provides you with some very nice skills, with some late game ones being pretty much broken. For example, I believe at rank 7 or 8, Ryuji gets a skill called Insta-Kill, which allows you to ambush lower level enemies with ease, not even resulting in a battle. This makes grinding in Mementos such a freaking treat, dude. Shinya provides you with the down shot, which allows you to bring an enemy to their knees, and at your mercy. This is really helpful because some late game enemies have no weaknesses and often repel certain attacks, so this comes in handy when dealing with those types of foes. There's plenty more cases of these, such as Sojiro's curry and coffee, Tei's adhesives, both SP and HP, Kawakami buying you time, and Chihaya allowing you to boost whatever you want. This is a really great way the game rewards you for interacting with characters and allowing their skills to cross over from real life to the metaverse. The romances. Dude, it killed me having to say no to the other girls, including Makoto, because I found out about what happens if you cheat on them, which results in a group whooping of you. The game does such a great job of getting you connected to these characters and girls that it really makes you feel bad for rejecting the other ones. Or at least that's how I felt. Now, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of the game, the story. At its core, Persona 5 Royal is about rebellion, about standing up against corrupt authority figures who exploit people. Every villain has their own twisted worldview, from an abusive teacher to a politician who's basically every real-world corrupt official rolled into one. The Phantom Thieves don't just fight bad guys, they change their hearts, forcing them to face their crimes. Before I continue, I gotta give a big thank you to another YouTuber, this one being Lady Virgilia, for her video on Persona 5's Villains Are Real video. In her detailed video, she talks about how the palace rulers in Persona 5 Royal are based off of real people, those coming from Japan. Although some things have been tweaked for the game, which explain why the villains had an element of realness to them, despite how cartoony they can get at times. For instance, Kamoshida was based off this guy called Masato Uchisabe, a former Olympic gold medalist in judo, who had his medals and honors revoked after being found guilty of inappropriately abusing the women's judo team at Kyushu University. Shido is based off of Shinzo Abe and his nationalistic ideals, and each palace ruler follows a similar trend. I also love how the game's palaces represent the 7 deadly sins in the order of lust, vanity, gluttony, wrath, greed, envy, and pride. Technically, this is 8, with the last being sloth in relation to Yaldabaoth and the people of Tokyo in the depths of Mementos. The first palace ruler is Kamoshida, and dog, he is easily up there as one of the most horrid villains in the game. Just as a healthy reminder, he beat the members of his volleyball team, viewed the girls as sexual objects, inappropriately messed with Shido, leading her to take the leap of faith off the school building and try to get us expelled in our first month here. And he was the one that shot down Ryuji's dreams by breaking his leg. You get to see his lust on full display in his palace, from the way his shadow version is dressed to how his little cognitive versions of Shio and An were wearing and acting. That being said, he definitely gave a strong start to the game and got me invested as hell. The only thing I didn't like about his palace was that 80 to 90% of it was a tutorial, which kind of broke the immersion for me when it came to playing the game and getting lost in the metaverse. For crying out loud, Morgana, let me make mistakes and move on. Damn! We've got the king of vanity himself, Madarame. Now, despite Kamoshida's palace being a castle, Madarame's was a museum. Madarame is a famous painter, but the catch is that his paintings in his museums are the result of his students' work. Even one of his past pupils took their own life because they couldn't bear to live in his shadow and remain unrecognized forever, while he receives what should have been their glory. One of the most devious things Madarame did was revealing how Yusuke's mother actually died. If I remember correctly, she had a seizure, and Madarame didn't help her, instead just watching her die. I ain't gonna lie, Yusuke was justified for his anger, because I would have turned into YNW Melly after hearing that. On top of that, Madarame was selling counterfeits of the Sayuri painting Yusuke's mother made, profiting off of that and some other paintings. Truly despicable. Thirdly, we've got Kaneshiro. While they changed up the formula with his palace being a floating ship and having all of Shibuya being affected, I wasn't a fan of him. Maybe it's because I got used to enjoying the dichotomy between the palace ruler and their real life counterpart. However, Kaneshiro to me is just a plain old criminal, and there's not much of a difference to either version of him. So when we defeated him, it didn't really give me that sense of achievement I was looking for. That being said, this was the arc that gave us Makoto, so I gotta be grateful here. Also, the bit during the boss fight when Kaneshiro is left all on his own due to him running out of money was hilarious, as this perfectly reflected how he viewed money and other people. Fourth, we got Futaba. She's the rare case out of the Palace Rulers where she's more of an antagonist as opposed to just a straight up villain. If you want to talk about traumatized characters, Futaba is pretty up there. For crying out loud, she had only her mum after her dad left him. Then her mum, Wakaba Ishiki, got murked by Shido and his goons for not complying to be their puppet. Plus, Futaba's memories got warped because of those adults blaming her for her mother's death, resulting in her shy demeanor and fearful attitude. However, getting to free her from her past in relation to her mum was so freeing. I'm also not proud to admit that her mum was the first boss fight in which I lost, mainly because I was a bit careless and stupid. I didn't do too much with Futaba's confident ranking, but from what I did do, I loved our dynamic. She was like an adorable little sister figure, which we were slowly but surely teaching how to fend for herself. Well, socially that is. The fifth palace ruler is Haru's dad, Mr. Okumura. His sin was greed, and boy, do I have some thoughts to tell y'all about him. Initially, I didn't mind the messy way the palace sounded, with Morgana's running away and us meeting Haru. But when we got to the puzzle sections, right before the actual boss fight, boy, I wanted to toss my PS5 controller right into the TV screen. The game doesn't actually teach you how to do it, so you gotta figure it out for yourself. Now normally, I don't mind that too much, but when it's to the degree that this game did it, then you know that it's unacceptable. I thought maybe I was too dumb for this one, but when I looked up YouTubers' tutorials, all the comments I read said the exact same thing. So if there's one aspect in which Atlas didn't cook, it was these damn puzzles. And ooh, the boss fight pissed me off to infinity and beyond. For reference, this is done in waves of the different types of enemies you fought throughout the course of this palace, which was simple enough. However, there's a condition, a caveat if you will. If you don't beat whatever wave you're on within 2 turns, then guess what? You gotta start that wave all over again. Eventually, it just becomes a game of how long can you keep your SP and HP up. I also forgot to mention that there was a horrid in-game time limit of 30 minutes, which goes by way quicker than you expect it to. The way that got me stumped the most were the giant green robots, because they were far too tanky for me, despite me using the baton pass effectively and targeting their weaknesses. This fight almost made me quit the damn game. Then, I realized upon some research that the fight is a lot easier on Merciless mode as opposed to normal mode, which I was playing. This is because the damage output on Merciless is like 2 to 3 times as much as when you target a weakness, which is kinda cracked. How the hell does the hardest version of your game end up making the fight easier? There was literally no way to beat this boss on normal mode unless you got the luckiest RNG in the world. The funny thing is, after that, the fight gets a lot easier. Shadow Haru pretty much tells you when to block and heal. As for Okumura, you could do so much as spit in his general direction and he would be done for. Next up, we're going to be talking about Mummy. I mean Sainijima. Dude, when I saw what her shadow version looked like, I was shocked. Mind you, she's already hot in real life, but her shadow version is even hotter, being this gothic and more sadistic version of Sai. Ruined my life already. This was an interesting one because she was pretty much with us since the beginning, and getting to understand her motivations for what she did and why her heart grew cold was amazing. As where Makoto aspires to be more like her dad and likes his justice, Sai despises it since she views it as weak, as it resulted in him getting killed and leaving them on their own. Also, getting to see her palace resemble Casino was pretty cool, and seeing that even the best of us can fall down the wrong path if we let life beat us and keep us down. As for our 7th palace ruler, we've got Shido. Shido represents the sin of pride, and his palace is when everything starts to come full circle. I like to compare him to Xehanort from Kingdom Hearts or Aephorol from Sea of Stars. These respective villains were responsible for every bad thing that happened in the world, whether it was big or small. For example, despite Akechi collapsing mines, Shido put him up to it and got his position that way. On top of that, he was going to sell out his own son anyways. He's caused quite a couple of deaths, such as the train incident, the principal, and the SU director, and is the reason why Joker's record became stained. Need I say any more? I will say that even though his boss fight wasn't anything special or remarkable, it definitely was a spectacle. For the record, Shido was a pure sponge in his last phase when he transforms into Toguro from Yu Yu Hakusho. I remembered having Rivers in the Desert playing in the background, and boy was I on cloud 9. As corny as it sounds, this is when the whole power of friendship theme really came in handy, similar to Akechi's fight. Because there was no way in hell this fight was being won outside of a team effort. The Sloth Sin is in relation to the people of Tokyo, and the final palace ruler, you could say, is Yaldabaoth. He is the amalgamation of all the other sins, and you quite literally see this with all the different weapons he uses and the various effects they have on you. Yaldabaoth sticks true to the JRPG element of, oh, let's have the final boss be God. The sheer scale of him was insane, and the music playing served as a great accompaniment. I lost the first time, despite me being very close to the end. And after some well-informed research, aka YouTube, I managed to claw my way to victory. I was so close to losing it again, it was insane, because my SP was shriveling up and my items were pretty much gone, but thanks to the Lord up above, I managed to make it through. Also, getting to see Satenel/Joker shoot Yaldabaoth was insane! Also, getting to hear the instrumental version of Our Light play was a match made in heaven with the visuals and that point of the story. Now, we're at the point in which I mentioned a few miscellaneous things that aren't big enough to be their own section. The Persona Awakenings at the end were awesome after you maxed out your Confidant Arcana. Seeing the different shape and form they take is truly breathtaking. Plus, they become super OP. I know there's different endings as well, which would be cool for completionists, such as selling out your party members, living a beautiful lie, or being the hero you were meant to be. I also enjoyed the small things and animations in relation to making curry, coffee, boosting a social stat, or working a part-time job. Even taking on the Big Bang Burger Challenge was super epic. It gave me that similar feeling I had playing Breath of the Wild, in which I was enamored with the small things. And despite me knowing how they were going to play out, like the showtimes, it didn't stop it from putting a massive smile on my face every single time. I normally never say this, but I think Persona 5 Royal might be my new favorite video game of all time. I know there's a lot of recency bias surrounding this decision, but I know for a fact that I feel that strongly about it. It reminds me of when I first played the Danganronpa games and fell in love with them, or Breath of the Wild, Hades, Sea of Stars, and more. Like, you'll like a lot of games, but I feel that you can only really love a few, and Persona 5 Royal sits in that class. Thank you guys for listening to me waffle for however long this video ended up being. I know it's gonna be a long one. I also gotta give a shout out to my editor, Shook. He edits all my videos and has been making the thumbnails recently as well. Despite me being busy with uni and work, he's been very understanding of it all. Keep in mind, he's a full-time engineer in India, yet he cares enough to see how I'm doing and wants to help me grow this channel. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say, dude, I couldn't have done this without you. I mean that. I made a community post on my YouTube channel, which y'all should be checking out for updates around mid-March, and I'm glad I finally got done making this video. For those that don't know, I'm going to have to slow down uploads from once every week to once every month to 3. Uni's been kicking my ass and I need some time to catch up on all of this work. But once I get above water with all my assignments and classwork, best believe me, I'll be back more consistently. I also want to give another thank you to those of y'all that have been supporting the channel. This is my 3rd year of YouTube and I couldn't be any happier. The love keeps on growing and all I want to do is just make dope videos for y'all. That being said, I'm gonna bounce. I'll see y'all in whatever I post next, and this is Black Sugar Lovin', out.